Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. Can you hear me now? Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. Assalamu alaikum wa rahmatullahi wa barakatuh. I'm going to read the second story now. Bismillahirrahmanirrahim. It's called Grocer and the Parrot. Once there was a grocer who had a parrot. This parrot was not only very beautiful with a pleasant voice, but also was very intelligent, as the bird had spent a lot of time in the grocer's shop. He had come to know his owner's customers and would greet them and ask how they were. When the grocer had to go out on some business, he would sometimes put the parrot, who had strings tied to his legs, on the counter. Then the grocer would go home for a while. The parrot knew that when his master was out of the shop, no one had the right to take anything from the shop. So he would say to anyone who came in, "Hello, please be patient. The grocer will return shortly." The people who knew about this were used to it. But when a stranger entered the shop, saw the parrot behaving as though he were on guard, the person would be astonished and would either wait until the grocer returned or leave and come back later. Things went smoothly in this fashion until one day a strange cat entered the shop because it had heard the sound of a mouse. When the cat pounced on the mouse, the parrot got frightened, for he had never seen such a thing. In order to save his life, he flew off the counter to take refuge in the corner of the shop. But the string tied to his legs caught on a large bottle of peanut oil. The bottle fell to the floor and shattered. The oil spilled out. The parrot flew up to his cage and sat on top of it, while the cat, scared by the sound of feathers and beating wings, scurried out of the shop. When the grocer returned from his house, at first he didn't notice anything unusual and went to his customary place. Then he looked around and saw the broken bottle of oil. He looked at the bird and saw that its talons and feathers were splashed with oil, and realized that the parrot had knocked the bottle down. The grocer was upset about this and grabbed the parrot. He swore at him and used bad language. Then he said, "Ugly bird with a disagreeable voice, now you have the impudence to break a bottle of oil. Take this." He snatched up a piece of wood that was lying nearby and cracked the parrot on the head with it. And then threw the bird into a corner of the shop. The bird had cracked the bird The blow had cracked the parrot's head and torn its skin. A little while later, the grocer was sorry for what he had done and tried to make up with the bird. However, the parrot, who had been cursed and beaten, would not utter a single word. The grocer dressed the wound on the parrot's head. After it had healed, there was a scar, a bald spot without feathers. The parrot still remained silent, and would not speak, no matter how much the grocer or his customers, coming and going, tried to get the bird to speak. It was of no use. The grocer had always enjoyed listening to the bird's entertaining chatter and considered the bird the glory of his shop. Now he deeply regretted having struck the parrot, but the stubborn bird refused to break his silence. The grocer's friends and acquaintances asked about the bird and the reason for his silence. They asked about the scar on the bird's head too. The grocer would reply, "I came back and found that the parrot had broken a bottle of oil. I got angry and hit him on the crown of his head with a stick. Now his head is bald and his tongue silent." After a while, the parrot, hearing the grocer repeatedly tell the customers the story of his breaking the bottle and spilling the oil and the explanation of his bald head, comprehended that he was bald because he had broken the bottle, filled the oil, and had been beaten by the grocer. So he went to a mirror, sat in front of it, and studied the reflection of his bald head. "Yes," he said, "the bottle broke, and, and, and he said no more. In order to get the parrot to talk again, the grocer talked a lot more with customers. He told them stories about the parrot's voice and how he used to speak. But no matter how much he showed his fondness for the bird, it was no use. The parrot knew that he had broken the bottle, spilled the oil, been beaten, and had become bald. It was better to keep quiet. Things remained this way until one day a number of acquaintances and neighbours of the grocer happened to be gathered in the shop, talking about many different things. One of the men was bald and had no hair on his head. After he had gone, one of the others remarked, "I know him. Up until a few years ago he had thick curly locks and a forelock. But now I don't know why he has lost his hair and is as bald as a bull." At that moment the parrot suddenly found his voice. "I know the reason. He broke the bottle and spilled the oil. He was beaten for that and he became bald." Upon hearing these words, everyone present broke into laughter because they realized that the bird had been so preoccupied with his own bald head that he had compared it with the head of a man. The grocer was delighted to hear his parrot speak at last and said, "The words of the parrot are a good lesson for all of us. Sometimes in our deeds we measure things by our own selves. For example, someone does something bad and gets caught. Afterwards he thinks that everyone in trouble is guilty. Or the other way, an innocent person gets in trouble and thinks that everyone in trouble is innocent. But in truth, one person's actions cannot be compared with those of another." So this is a story of the grocer and the parrot, and this has a very big moral to it. And if you think about the story, that after the incident of what happened to the parrot, before the parrot had been talking a lot in the story, and then the cat comes in and it spills the oil, and then the grocer gets mad at the parrot, right? And he beats him, and then the parrot gets a bald patch. But what happens to the parrot is the trauma of that makes him stop talking, right? So he doesn't talk anymore. And even though the grocer wants him to start talking, but a long period of time it passes and he doesn't talk. But one day a bald man comes in and the parrot looks at it and suddenly it thinks to himself something a memory is evoked inside him, and he says, did the same thing happen to you? Right? Did you spill the oil and get beaten, and then you got a ball patch? Right? So everybody starts laughing when they hear this. But the truth of the matter is that this is how it works. That when people have bad memories or trauma inside them, then a story gets stuck inside, and this is where trauma comes from. So it's a very important story. People who do psychology will understand this, that this is how it works, that if there is a painful moment or an experience, then especially in childhood for human beings, then that experience can get stuck in that person, and it will go subconscious, and it will inform whatever that person does without them realizing. So if they had a bad experience with a person, for example, then those types of people, when we meet them in their life, they will react to them differently, and they won't even realize why they're reacting differently. But if you go back, if you were to have therapy and go back, then you would find a trigger that this is what happened at one time. And because you had a bad experience then, now you think that the bad experiences will happen like that again. Right, so that was our second story, and I think we missed the first one. That's okay. We're going to do another story. It's called Saved by the Beard, and this is a story about a king called Sultan Mahmud. So once there was a great king named Sultan Mahmud who liked to roam about at night. As we know, in ancient times, the work of government departments was not as well regulated as it is today. So it frequently happened that rulers did not know much about the conditions of their subjects. Government officials, princes, and others who ran the country's affairs often oppressed the people, took bribes, and lied about matters. And so it happened that for these reasons, some kings who wanted to be better informed about their people would go about the city at night disguised as dervishes, beggars, and night workers. They would be accompanied by one of their trusted confidants. Unknown to the public, they would go about the city and learn about the conditions. They would ask about the prices of goods. If they heard the sound of weeping or wailing, they would inquire from the servants about the cause. If they saw a group of men gathered together, they would join them to see what was happening. For the same reasons, they would enter the mosque too. They would look in on ceremonies of mourning and celebrations in order to learn what the people were doing and saying. If they heard them complaining about the sheriff or other government officials, they would either remove the miscreants from their posts or punish them. In short, they would get accurate and sound information firsthand from the people. This enabled them to better attend to the people's affairs, thereby making the rulers more beloved and respected by their subjects. There are many stories about the adventures of Shah Abbas of Isfahan and other monarchs who wander about the city streets at night. However, this story is about Sultan Mahmud. One evening, Sultan Mahmud dressed himself as a laborer and went out to roam the streets of Ghaznin in modern Afghanistan by himself. It was a winter night and the streets were empty and the doors closed. Once in a while he saw a dog or a beggar or some other person moving about. The king decided to go to the edge of the city to see if the guards and the police were doing their duties. He came upon an open space and saw 4 or 5 men standing at one side whispering together. When the king tried to approach them, they blocked his way, saying, "Wait up there, let's see who you are and where you're going." Mahmud replied, "Nowhere. I'm just a man like yourselves wandering the streets as you are. The difference between us is that I'm not bothering you, but you are questioning me." One of the 4 snapped, "Okay, we don't have time to feel around with you. How much money do you have in your pockets?" Sultan Mahmud laughed. Ha! If I had any money in any pockets, do you think I'd be walking around like this? I'd be sleeping in my bed. I'm thinking about how to lay my hands on some money. But anyway, what business is it of yours? This is marvelous, they answered. It seems that you are one of us. Since that is the case, if you are clever, you can join up with us. We too are wondering where there is money to be found tonight. Do you have any ideas? We can't find work and we don't have any food. We are night rovers and tonight we plan to steal something. Right now we're making our plans, but it's going to be a tough job. We have to climb our walls and open doors by any means possible. We must be quiet and ready to run away. The owner of the house may be awake. A policeman may come upon us. Our work is dangerous and can land us in prison. In short, you've got to have aptitude. Do you think you've got it? Sultan Mahmud, who had never encountered such men before, had an inclination to go with them so that he could discover what they were up to. So he answered, I don't know. I've never done anything like that. If you'll take me, I'll come along. If not, I'll go about my own business. The thieves said, No, 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 you don't. Now that you know, as we can't let you go because you might squeal on us to a policeman or set a trap for us, we'll have to tie you up and hide you in some desolate ruins so that no one will be able to hear you. But if you want to come with us, you've got to know what to do to be of any use to us. We don't need a partner who doesn't know what he's doing. What a fix I'm in, Mahmoud replied. For example, what do I have to know how to do? You fellows don't have a workshop that needs a skilled worker. You just go over walls and take people's property. All right, I'll help. The thieves laughed. Not so fast. Each one of us has a skill useful to our work. One of them said, Mine is my ears. When a dog barks, I understand what he is saying. I can tell the difference between a bark meaning a thief is approaching and a bark meaning that the dog is hungry. Mine is my eyes, said the second thief. Whenever I see someone in the darkness, I can identify him in daylight, no matter how he is dressed. This is important because when we want to sell the stolen goods, we don't want to approach the wrong man and get in trouble. Said the third, My value is in my arms. I can cut holes in walls and tear doors off their hinges so quietly that not a sound is heard. Mine is in my nose, said the fourth thief. I sniff the earth and can tell where it's from. I can distinguish between the smell of a goldsmith shop and that of a harness maker's. And mine is in my hand, said the fifth man. When we have to throw a rope over a wall to climb over it, I throw the hook with such skill that it holds firm and we can climb over. So if we take you along, what can we do? Asked the thieves. What skill do you possess that will be of use to us? Mahmoud thought a little, then said, All of your abilities are useful, but mine is far more important. Your skills are of use when you haven't been caught, but if you are caught by a policeman or a householder, none of your skills will help you. However, the art which I possess is very marvelous. It is in my beard. It grants freedom and salvation. If a criminal falls into the hands of a policeman or an executioner, I wiggle my beard by talking and he is set free immediately. Oh God, cried the thieves. Fantastic! Your skill is much more important than ours. What a wonderful beard you have! You are our leader, our pillar, our chief. We're ready to give you a greater share of the goods. And because we can do our jobs free from worry, let's go. Let's not waste any more time. They turned right into the lane and started off. When they had gone a little way, a dog fled from in front of them and barked. The thief with the skilled ears declared that the dog said that an important man is accompanying you. The others said, Yes, it must mean our new friend whose beard can save us. They came upon a low wall. One of them said that it was very easy to climb over, but the man with the skillful nose sniffed about and said, "Don't bother, this is the wall of the house of a poor widow." A short while later they came to a high wall, above which trees could be seen. The man with the skillful hands threw the rope over the wall, made it firm. They climbed over the wall and found themselves in a garden. When they reached the building, the man with the skillful nose sniffed the earth. "We found a good place. I can smell a treasure of jewels." Then, in a safe dark spot, the man with the skillful arms dug into the earth and found the treasure under a wall. He took out as much as he could of gold, silver, jewels, and other valuable articles, and then they escaped in some ruins under the city moat and buried it all. As dawn was near, they said, "Now we shall separate. Tomorrow night we'll come back to divide the loot." So it was agreed that one of them, disguised as a beggar, would hang around the ruins until the next night as a guard. Before separating, they said to Mahmud, "So far, so good. You come tomorrow night too and get your share." Sultan Mahmud left them and returned to his palace, but not before he had memorized the place and their plans. The next morning he told the responsible vizier what had happened and sent several officers and soldiers to seize the treasure and capture the thieves and bring them, bound and chained, to the hall of justice. Thus the terrified thieves stood trembling in the line of criminals at the royal palace. When their turn came, the judge recited their crimes to them and said, "The people are tired of the activities of you night thieves. As an example to others, I order that these men be punished. Summon the executioner." The executioner had not yet had time to arrive when Sultan Mahmud, dressed in his robes of state, entered the hall and took his place on the throne. At this juncture, the man with the skillful eyes, the one who could recognize anyone he had seen at night by day, motioned to his comrades and said, "Look, the man who has the skillful beard and was with us last night is that very Sultan Mahmud." The thief with the skillful ears confirmed what the first had said. "Indeed, the dog that barked at us last night said that a great man was with us. He meant the king." At that moment, the executioner entered the assembly, and the judge asked the thieves, "Do you confess to your crimes?" The thieves answered, "Yes, we confess, but if you want to do justice, you must punish us all together. Last night we were 6 men together who stole the treasure. We are but 5. Show us the 6th man," ordered the judge. "Be patient," they said. "Each one of us has a special ability, and each of us demonstrated that ability. Now we are awaiting another to demonstrate his ability. There is someone who can set us free." "In any case," said the judge, "I have to order the executioner to punish you. No one except the king can grant you pardons." A smile played on Sultan Mahmud's lips, while all stood waiting. The thieves did not have the audacity to reveal the secret that they knew. Then one of the 5 recited this verse in a loud voice: "We all have all used our skills. O Great One, now wiggle your beard." And Sultan Mahmud broke into laughter at this verse and commanded, since this was the first time they had done this and the loot had been recovered, they should be pardoned. Each one of them repented their sins. After that, the king commanded that each one be given a job in keeping with his skill. Then he addressed them, saying, "I have promised pardons and I have delivered pardons. But after this, for every crime there shall be a punishment." And this was the very creative way in which Sultan Mahmud caught the thieves and he delivered justice. Now, we know that there are stories in the Sira like this too, where the Sahaba, when they became rulers, they would go out at night. Like the story of Umar radiallahu anhu, he would go out at night and they would walk through the people, they would walk through the neighborhoods. to check if everybody was okay. And so this is a similar type of a story because the rulers at that time took their responsibility very seriously, and they knew that they would have to go back to Allah and they would have to answer for that. Right. So there is a story that I read right at the beginning, but I think you missed the story, so I'm going to read it again. And it's called A Lion Without a Mane or a Tail. So once there was an illiterate man who went one day to a tattooer and said that he wanted to have a tattoo put on his arm. In days of old, it was a custom for vagabonds, rogues, and thugs to have tattoos tattooed on their arms, chest, and stomachs. The design of a lion or a leopard stood for bravery. The picture of a friend or a loved one on their bodies was a sign of devotion to them, while a knife or a sword meant strength and aggressiveness. In this way, they could have their favorite picture with them at all times. Most of the workers in the public baths know how to tattoo, in addition to their other jobs. They shaved and cut hair, they pulled teeth, and circumcised children besides tattooing. So the workers in the public baths, they not only um, gave, shaved people and cut heads, so they were barbers and they were also dentists, and they circumcised children, and they did tattoos. And we also learned at the beginning of the story that it was a custom of vagabonds, rogues, and thugs. And these people who were up to no good, they would have these tattoos done. And the tattoo was done to make them stand out, right? So they because they felt like they had to assert themselves, they had to show their identity because they didn't have a true identity or they didn't like their true identity. They made up an identity that they were very brave or something like this, and they showed it with their tattoos. And tattooing is a form of branding which is not allowed in Islam. So just for your information, tattoos are not allowed because we believe that our bodies belong to Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala. They are on loan to us, and we're not allowed to tattoo, pierce, um, or cut, uh, etc. on the bodies. And let's say piercing, apart from the piercing which is done cosmetic reasons, for example, ears and nose, piercing anywhere else in the body is not allowed. Right. So anyway, he was there. A man came to have his tattoo done, and this is the way that they did it. First, the skin was washed with boiled water, and the picture of an animal or some other thing was drawn on the customer's body. After that, they scratched the skin with a needle, following the lines of the design, and rubbed various plant dyes into the scratches. When the pain had gone away and the wounds had healed, the tattoo would remain on the body for the rest of the customer's life and not fade away. Now, this was unbecoming custom, was disapproved of by educated people. They would never have tattoos put on their bodies. But in those days, it was a custom of ignorant hoodlums. So the illiterate man went to the bath attendant who did the tattooing and said, I want to be tattooed. Very good, the bath attendant replied. What kind do you want? I'm an athlete, strong and brave, and I want to have a tattoo of a lion on my body. Very auspicious, exclaimed the attendant. On what part of your body do you want the lion's picture? On my right arm, near my shoulder. Very good, said the tattooer. Roll up your sleeve and sit down over there. The customer sat down and the tattooer began his work. He washed the man's arm and plunged the needle into boiling water. He prepared some dyes and got some clean cotton. He brought the pen and ink pot and drew the picture of the lion on the man's arm. Then he set to work. At the first prick of the tattooer's needle in his arm, the brave athlete felt a sharp pain and cried out, Oh, my arm! What are you doing? I'm doing what you asked me to do. Didn't you say you wanted the tattoo of a lion? Of course, the strong man answered. But from what point are you starting? I started with the tail, the attendant replied, right at the tip of the lion's tail. The man, whose arm was smarting from the prick of the needle, said, all right, now let's forget the tail and do the head and body. My lion won't have a tail. Let's suppose my lion's tail was cut off. No problem, said the tattooer. We'll forget about the tail. Then he started to work on the lion's head and decided to begin with the mane and neck. As soon as the customer felt the prick of the needle in his arm, he cried out again, ouch! That hurts a lot. What are you doing? The tattooer said, I'm making a lion. Relax a little and I'll be through in a little while. The powerfully built athlete asked, what part of the lion are you working on now? The mane. Oh my, the mane and the neck aren't important. What if my lion doesn't have a mane? The body will be enough. As you wish, said the bath attendant. We'll forget about the mane too. Then the tattoo artist thought to himself, well, I can't start from the tail and I can't start from the head. Why don't I start from the feet? And he jabbed the point of the needle into the lion's paw, drawn on the customer's arm. Our hero yelled and howled, what kind of a fussy and meticulous worker are you? The paws can't be seen. I don't want an art gallery on my arm. All I want is the shape of a lion. Forget the paws. My lion doesn't have any feet. Now do something so it doesn't hurt so much and hurry up and finish. Yes, sir, said the bath attendant. From now on, I'll just deal with the actual shape of the lion and forget about the details. Then he looked at the picture of the lion he had drawn and decided to tackle the stomach. He brought the needle close to the man's arm. Once again, the strong man cried out and said, ouch! You're killing me with that needle. What are you doing? What part of the lion are you working on? The most important part of the body of the lion, the stomach. There's no way to avoid it. No, sir, said the athlete. My lion doesn't need a stomach. Do something so that there is a lion but with no stomach. The bath attendant was bewildered. He pondered the problem for a few minutes and then threw the needle into the corner of the room. Forgive me, Mr. Champion, he said. I'm very sorry. Until now, I have tattooed 1,000 men and have drawn the picture of a lion on a man's body 100 times. But I have never seen a lion without a mane or a tail or a stomach. Who has ever seen a lion without a mane or a tail or a belly? When did God ever create such a lion? Since you can't put up with the pricks of the needle, it's better if you don't let your arm stay the way it is. Save me the bother and stop pretending that you're a brave man and a lion killer. Since you cannot endure the prick of the needle, talk not of lions and fierce beasts. And that's the moral of the story. That if you can't endure the prick of the needle, then don't talk about lions and fierce beasts. Now there's lots of morals in the story, and I want you to think about those. I'm going to pick up on the very obvious one that don't talk big if you can't do it, right? So before you talk, this talk is easy. So when you talk, make sure it's something about what you can do, right? It's easy to talk big, but then you can't carry it through. And so words are very important. They show us that words carry meanings, good and bad words. We learn that from this as well. And then we also learn that doing big things, that means if you are claiming that you want to do something big, then you have to be ready for it, that it will require sacrifice and effort. Anything that is worth doing, anything that is worth it is going to require effort and sacrifice on your part. So if you are planning something big and worthwhile, then be prepared to withstand the pain and the things you have to do. And before you do something, you should talk and get advice, and get advice from people who have made the journey. So talk to somebody who has, like this man, if he wanted to get the tattoo, he should have talked to his friends who had already gotten a tattoo and asked them if it hurt or not, right? And that would have told them, whether he should get the tattoo or not. So um, that's another level of the story. The main thing is that if you can't endure the prick of the needle, that means if you want to do something big and worthwhile, then you're going to have to go through the process of it, right? So if you are, and on a deeper level too, like if you're saying that you want to go to Jannah, for example, and you want a high level in Jannah, then Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala is going to take you to that level, but you have to pay for it, right? You have to pay for it in this world. So if you're asking for that level from Allah and saying, Allah, give me the highest levels in Jannah, and give me this in Jannah, and you haven't, don't have the currency for it, that means you not worked for it, then Allah will take you there, but He will take you in another way. And that way will give you tests and things so that you can pay for it and you can go to Jannah like that. So when you make your du'as, you should ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala, we should all ask Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala that by your grace and your mercy, give us these things. Because we do not have the ability to pay for them, right? We don't have the ability to um, we don't have the ability to do uh, do the things that are worthy of getting us to that level. But just by your grace and your mercy, give us these things. Yeah. So we're going to end over here. And we did 3 stories today, so I hope you enjoyed the stories. And there was a bit of a disruption at the beginning, but inshallah you caught the 3 stories. So I'll see you all next week, inshallah. And I hope you enjoy your week and you do good things with your time. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give us good guidance. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless our week, our days, hours, our minutes. And Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala bless all those people and help those people who are going through difficulties, who have sick people in their families. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala give them shifa. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help those people who are grieving. The loved ones have passed away. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala help those people who are in difficulties. Allah subhanahu wa ta'ala relieve the sorrows and the pains of the people who are suffering around the world. And Allah give us all guidance and His mercy and His grace, inshallah. آمين يا رب العالمين. اللهم صل على محمد وعلى آل محمد وبارك وسلم